Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Naval Yamal. In this video, I'm going to explain you how to implement the primary key and foreign key in MySQL. Let us take an example first. Like I'll be creating two tables. First, I'll be working on the users table. So I'll just write the table name as users, and I'll take three columns here. So I'll just take user ID. I'll just write a column name as user ID, and then I'll take a username and then their email address. Okay. So I'll make a data type of integer, varchar and varchar, and I'll make this as a primary key because I don't want any user ID to be repeated. Okay. So that is my dimension table. Now I'll be working on the fact table, and my fact table would be of the orders table. Okay, orders table. And here I'll write order ID, and whenever I talk about the order ID, that should be a primary key again. And so I'm talking about the product name here. So this order ID contains a product name. For example, it might be an electronic or phone or something like that. And then I'll write a order date. Okay, I'll just take a order date, and then I'll use a user ID column here. So this will be my fact table, guys. This will be my transaction table. Whatever the transactions are happening, that will be captured in this table, and I will be referring. So if I say that user ID is, for example, 1, who is 1, I have to look at the dimension table to get the details. So this will be my dim table, and this will be my fact table. And when you are implementing a foreign key in MySQL, so first step is to create a dimension table, and then you try to create a fact table with a foreign key as a user ID, and that is referencing to the dimension table with the users table user ID column. Let us implement this in MySQL. Let me go to MySQL here. I'll just take a new tab here, new tab. So let me create a new database, guys. So first I'll start creating it. I'll create a new database, and I'll say that database name is a sample to implement a foreign key and primary key. Let me execute this, and here you got a sample database. Okay, you might see it somewhere here, sample. Okay, and now I'll use that database, use sample, and let me execute this. Okay, now I'm using a sample database. In this, now I'm trying to create two tables. One is users table and second is our orders table. As we know that first step is to create a dimension table, and then according to that dimension table, we'll choose the foreign key in the orders table or the fact table. Let us start creating create table, and the table name is users, and then I'll start implementing the column names. First column is user ID, and the data type of it is an integer. I want this as a primary key. Okay, primary key. So depending on the use case, you can decide whether it is a primary key or it is a not null constraint or so on. Okay, if you want to have a repeated values, then you can use a not null there. Now I'll implement it as a primary key. I'll take a username as a varchar. Let me make this as 40, and I wish that this column also should not be any null. So I'm applying a constraint not null, means I should mention some value here. Okay, with the username. Then I'll write a mail. I'll just write varchar, and let me make it as 50, and then I'll just leave it without any constraint because some might have the email address or not. So this is very simple, creating a table with a primary key and not null, and the table name is users. Let me select this and execute it. And once I execute it, you can see it got successfully created, and you can refresh here and you can find out the table, that is users table here. Okay, so let me use select star from the users table. Let me take a colon. Let me show you that you got your user ID, username and mail. So user ID, username and mail are the three columns. Okay, we can insert the records inside this, but first we'll go and create another table as we have shown here. So first, second step is to create a fact table. The table name is orders table. We'll create this, but while creating this table, I want to refer, or I want to create a user ID as a foreign key Foreign key is nothing but creating a relationship from the user ID to the dimension table's user ID column. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. So I'll start writing create table, and the table name is, in my case, it's orders table. And now let me start writing the first column, that is order ID. Now I wish to keep it order ID as a primary key, so let me keep it as primary key. Primary key is nothing but it is a combination of both not null and unique. Okay, I hope you know that. Product name, I'll keep it as varchar, so there can be a large product name. Let me keep it as 100, and I want to keep this as not null. Now I'll just write order date column, and the data type should be date column here. Okay, date. And then I'll write a user ID column, guys. User ID column to be an integer. Now I want to say that, hey, this user ID is a foreign key. That's it. You need to start writing here as a foreign key here. Foreign key is your user ID, user ID, user ID column. But I have to say that, hey, this user ID is making a relationship with the users table. So then here you need to write references. So you get an IntelliSense here, keyword references. Just press a tab, and then the other table name that is making a relationship is users table, and the column name is user ID, and close it. Yeah. So I'll repeat again. Look at the syntax, guys. The syntax says you just specify the foreign key column name, and referencing to other table names, other column there. Okay, so this is how you create a orders table with a foreign key constraint. Let me create it, and it got successfully created. So remember the steps. First we created a dim table, and then we created a fact table. Okay, so now let me select star from the orders table. Let me make this and execute it, and you got the 1 2 3 4 columns here. Now let me start inserting the values, and when you insert also, it is always recommended to first use the dim table and then you start filling the orders table. So let me start inserting. Insert into the table name is users. I'll write values, and the first column is your ID. You can see your ID. The second is name, so let me keep it as a simple name. And then the email address is again a varchar, I guess. Let me check. Yeah, it's a varchar. Let me write it as a dot or a@g.com. Let me complete this and let me execute this. Okay, I'm just inserting one record and it's done now. It's done. So let me just select this, and you can see a@g.com. Okay, that is his email address. Let us assume that. Now let me insert that record into the orders table. Insert into orders table, and I'll write without specifying column names. I'm directly passing the values here. So maybe he has ordered order ID as 100, and you can see order ID as 100. Second is product name. What does 100 means? 100 means it's suppose an iPhone, and let me write it as iPhone. And then the order date, let me make it today's date. Let me make it in this way. That is 23/12/12. Okay, and then the user name, so I mean user ID. So user ID in this case is suppose 1. I mean 1, that is A, as purchased iPhone on this date. Let me close this. Let me complete this bracket and then try to insert the record here. Let me try to insert it, and it's done. It's done. So let me just write select star from users table, guys. So now when you are looking at the details, first you go and check the orders detail, guys. First check the order details, like okay, this is 100 iPhone on this date. The user ID is 1. Now if you ask me who is 1, can I know the details of 1? Yeah, I will show you the details of 1. in the users table, and one is a and his email address is this. This is how we can implement a foreign key and primary key with this use case, guys. If you are new to this channel, guys, I request you to please like the video, subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching again. If you want to know more about what is fact table and dim table, I will give you the link on the description to know more about those. Thank you for watching again, guys. See you in the next video. Bye bye.